Hi there, and welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today I have corned beef and cabbage with carrots and potatoes, and we're gonna cook them in the Ninja Foodi. Now stick around through the whole video because what I do at the end might just surprise you. So this is about a 3-pound head of cabbage. I removed a few of the outer leaves just because they were a little dry and just didn't look that great. And now we're gonna go ahead and cut this. And I wanted to do this on camera because I wanted to show you guys how to do it quickly. Now, make sure that your cabbage is sitting flat. If it's really gonna wobble around, you can take your knife and cut a little flat part on the bottom. Mine was pretty flat already, and that's why I didn't have to cut off too much. So you wanna make sure it's stable there. Then with a large sharp knife, you're gonna go straight down the center, kind of keeping an eyeball on where this, the core is here. So we're gonna go up, go straight down the middle, watch your fingers, make sure you use the claw there, keep the knife away, and just sort of rock it back and forth through the cabbage. And hopefully I hit the center. Well, I didn't quite hit the center, but that's okay. All right, so now we have it halved. There's a little core here, and there's a bigger core here because I did not get it through the center. Oh well. Sometimes I can, and sometimes I don't. That's okay. So now take flat side down again, and we're gonna take a look here where the core is. I can see it from behind. And I wanna go straight down the center here and try to get into the middle of that core if possible. There we go. So now we have the core here, and we want to cut that out. So just take your knife and go straight down and just cut that out. And this is the part of the cabbage that we're going to use. All right, just do the same thing on the other one. There you go. Now we have a much bigger core on this side, and so we will take care of that right now. Go straight down the middle. And if you can, get to the middle of the core. Seem to be off center today. Not quite getting down that middle. All right, so you can see the core right there. Just take your knife, slide down. There we go. Same thing with the last piece. All right, perfect. Now we're gonna cut up our cabbage just a little bit more. These are pretty big pieces, so we're gonna cut them up just a little bit more before we put them into the Ninja Foodi. When I'm cooking corned beef and cabbage, I really like the cabbage to be tender but not fall apart mushy. So in order to achieve that, I'm gonna keep these in fairly large chunks and kind of like big quarters. So I'm gonna go one more time through each section to break them in half, to cut them in half again, so they're about this size. We're not gonna cook it all the way the first time, but we are gonna get some of the water out, and that's what we're gonna use to cook our corned beef. I have 1 cup of water. Okay, so after we put in our 1 cup of water, you're gonna wanna put in the seasoning packet that comes with the corned beef. And there's some cloves in there, some mustard seed, I think it looks like a little coriander seed, a little bit of bay leaf that's chopped up. And you do wanna add that in. It does give a nice flavor. You could use beer as well. If you don't wanna use the water, you could use beer. I've seen people do that and that's fine. So get that in. Now, you know me, I like flavor, I like tons of flavor, so I add more. I have 1 bay leaf, 1 tablespoon of peppercorn, and 1 tablespoon of mustard seed, and I'm gonna add that in as well. And then we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. Trust me on this one, give it a try. It is fantastic. Okay, so I wanted to talk real quick about the corned beef. Okay, number 1, corned beef is brisket, and brisket is a tougher cut of meat. You do have to cook it for quite some time, especially if you're using the stove or the oven to get it tender, because you want all the fat to sort of render in and tenderize that meat. Now, corned beef is made by adding what we call a brine to the beef, and then it marinates in the refrigerator for like 10 days, and it's considered corned beef. There's 2 cuts of corned beef that you can get. There's a flat cut like this one, and there's a point cut. The point cut is more marbled, and people say it's a little juicier and maybe even a little more flavorful. but it doesn't slice real well. So when I'm making corned beef and cabbage, especially if I want to serve it for, a family dinner, I like to get the flat cut. It's my preferred cut. You'll see there's a large fat cap on the top there. We don't want to remove that, okay? We want that to render while it's cooking, help to keep the moisture in the meat and flavor the meat as well as the potatoes and the carrots. This is magic here. There's also a layer of fat in between that we don't do anything with, and that's gonna render out some. And you can see it's like a flat little cut. And so when we're done, we're gonna be able to slice this into beautiful, beautiful slices of corned beef. For right now, we need to get it cooking. So we're just gonna pick it up and put it right in the Ninja Foodi. This is a 4-pound corned beef. You could obviously do this with a smaller cut. You may need to adjust the cooking time just a tad, but not too much. Put the pressure lid on. Turn the black valve here to seal because we're gonna go under pressure. And we're gonna go under pressure for just 7 minutes. Don't get excited. The corned beef won't be done in 7 minutes, but we are gonna start with 7 minutes because we need to get that cabbage out of there. High pressure, 7 minutes, hit the start button. And as you know, if you've worked with the Ninja Foodi before or an Instant Pot, it's gonna take a few minutes to heat that liquid in there, produce the steam, which then puts the pot under pressure, and that can take anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. This is a pretty full pot, so we'll see how long it takes, and then it'll cook for 7 minutes, and we will do an immediate release, and I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Okay, so our cabbage and corned beef has cooked for 7 minutes under pressure, and it did take a good 8 minutes for it to come up to pressure. And then I released the pressure immediately. There's no need to worry about that corned beef at this point. No natural release needed. And the button is just about to pop down. There it goes. So I can turn this, turn the lid and get it off of the Ninja Foodi. And we'll just set it right over there for now. Okay, so we're gonna be doing a little bit of rearranging the ingredients here. So we're gonna take some tongs, lift up the corned beef, and just slide something underneath that will be big enough to pick it up and move it over here. Just set it on a clean cutting board for now. And then take whatever kind of scoop that you have, and we're gonna scoop this cabbage out. We're gonna put it into this little bowl here. Now it will get reheated, it will get cooked again, but not till the end. So we're just gonna get it out of here now so that we can add in the rack. And we don't want to overcook the cabbage. I really don't like mushy cabbage. If you like your cabbage a little bit softer, because I would say mine is, I'm trying to think what the texture would be. I mean, it's soft, but it's not mushy. It's not going to fall apart. If you like yours a little bit more done, you can always increase that time from 7 minutes to about 10 minutes. We're not doing anything with the potatoes and the carrots just yet. The corned beef is going to take a little bit longer to cook, obviously, than the vegetables do. So we're going to get that cooked almost all the way done, and then we'll add in the vegetables. All right, great. Now there's still plenty of spices in the bottom, so even though you can see some of the spices here on the cabbage leaves, there's plenty still in there to continue to season our corned beef. So that's why I added the extra tablespoon of mustard seed and the tablespoon of black peppercorn and that extra bay leaf. So now we have probably about 2 to 3 cups of liquid, maybe 2.5 cups of liquid in the bottom, and I put the rack in on the low position. And we're gonna go ahead and get the corned beef back in the Ninja Foodi. And it has shrunk up some, so now it's gonna fit on that rack pretty nicely. I just need to get it positioned correctly. There we go. Fat cap up. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but you definitely wanna put it in with the fat cap up facing you. That's gonna allow that fat to drip down in and tenderize and flavor that meat. And now we put the lid back on. Now, sometimes when you go to put the lid back on to pressurize the pot for a second time, you'll have a little trouble getting it on, and that is because there's still some heat and steam buildup. So you just kind of have to play with it a little bit. This looks like it's gonna go on just fine, and it did. Select pressure, high pressure is fine. And we're gonna set the time for 45 minutes. So now this is gonna go for 45 minutes. Now it's gonna come up to pressure in no time because the pot's already hot. So we're gonna make sure, because we vented, make sure we turn this to the sealed position and we're good to go. And so this will cook for 45 minutes. Okay, so we cooked the corned beef for 45 minutes and then I let it natural release for 10 minutes. Now we're gonna get the other vegetables cooked. So remove the lid from the Ninja Foodi. And we're going to lift this rack out here. Oh, it smells so good. You can see it definitely shrinks down some. All right. I'm gonna move this out of the way while we get our vegetables cut up. Now, we have some carrots and some potatoes that we need to get into this liquid to cook. And I wanna put them on the bottom in the juices because that flavor will really come through in the vegetables and it's just delicious. So the first thing we're gonna do is cut up our carrots. Now I have here about 2 pounds of carrots and I chose carrots that were pretty uniform in size because that's gonna help them cook evenly in the Ninja Foodi. So like for example, if you had a really thin carrot and a really thick carrot, because you're looking at the diameter when you're thinking about cook times, this is gonna cook a lot faster than this. Then you'll have a really mushy carrot and a crisper carrot. So we want them to be all about the same size. They don't have to be exact, but about the same. So let's get our knife and we're gonna cut them. Now you can cut them any way you like, but what I do, because when I put them on a serving platter, I want them to kind of look like larger serving size pieces. So I cut them in thirds. So I'm just gonna do that with all the carrots and get them into the liquid in the pot of the Ninja Foodi. And I'm eyeballing this, you don't have to be exact. Now I'm putting the carrots in first because the carrots actually will take a little bit longer to cook ordinarily than potatoes, but by putting them down first, they're in the liquid, so that liquid's gonna be boiling. That way the potatoes are kind of raised above the liquid and they'll cook at the same time as the carrots. Now I am using Yukon Gold potatoes and I recommend using those for a corned beef and cabbage or any kind of a boiled dinner because they just hold their texture better. If you have the new potatoes, like the little red potatoes or the little white potatoes, that's fine. You can even throw those in whole. But because of the size of these, I am going to cut them into quarters. And just put them on top of the carrots. This is 2.5 pounds of potatoes. That is perfect. Now I'm gonna bring the corned beef back over and we're gonna set it back on top because we're gonna go ahead and let that pressure cook again. We're gonna put this under pressure for 2 minutes with another 10-minute natural release, and that's gonna get the carrots and the potatoes cooked perfectly. Now the rack won't fit on there now, so we're gonna definitely have to take this off of the rack. So I'm just gonna slide my knife under here. It isn't like too hot here for me to handle. And just put that in there, like that. All right. Don't be concerned about that fat. We're gonna take care of that in a little bit. That's the secret part. That's why I say stick around. You wanna see the end. You wanna see the end of this video for sure. All right, so let's get our lid back on. Go to high pressure. We're gonna do it for 2 minutes. It's gonna come up to pressure in no time because the pot's already hot. Make sure you go to seal. And then once the 2 minutes are up, I'm gonna let it natural release again for 10 minutes. Hit the start button and we're almost there. The potatoes and the carrots have been cooking for 2 minutes with the corned beef in there that was sitting on top, and we've let it natural release for almost 10 minutes. We've just got a couple minutes to go. So now let's mix up our sauce. And this is something new that I did this year when I was creating this recipe. I've never done it before, but oh my goodness, the corned beef turned out so perfectly. I'll never make it any other way again. So what we're gonna start off with is 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Get that in the bowl. 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. And 1 tablespoon of the country style Grey Poupon mustard. Give this a mix. This is gonna go on top of our brisket before we air fry it. Aren't you glad you stuck around? This is the exciting part. It smells so amazing. Like you get the sweetness from the balsamic vinegar, and then you could just kind of get the vinegar from the mustard. And of course, you know, we're gonna have that sweet from the brown sugar. This is just really yummy. In fact, you might wanna make up a double batch so that you could pour it on top afterwards. While the pressure's releasing, I'm gonna go ahead and start to put the cabbage into this basket here because this is what we're gonna use to air fry. So I'm gonna set the cabbage all around the outside. All right, so the red button depressed and it took about 3 minutes to do that. Okay, so now we're gonna open this up. So now every corned beef is a little bit different. And what I'm noticing is that there still is a good amount of that fat cap. I'm gonna trim it down now a little bit because I want the air crisper to get that really crispy, and it's not gonna get through all of that fat in the 20 minutes that we want to air fry. So, and you just have to use your judgment about that, whether or not the fat cap is has rendered enough. Each brisket is a little different. So to do that, I'm just going to take my knife. Now, I don't want to remove it all, so I don't want to go underneath here. I want to keep some of it. So I'm just kind of looking, engaging, and I think I'm just going to go right across here. And maybe right down the side a little bit. I don't want to get into the meat too much. Now I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't have done that. No, there's still plenty of fat there. Okay, so let's get our basket over here for a second. Now I've kind of gotten screwed up. I gotta do some configuring. All right, so let me put that over here. That wasn't a step I was planning on. The test brisket that I did not need to be trimmed at all. So, but again, you know, different, they're just different. Every single one is gonna be different. So let me just move a few things around so that I can get to the potatoes and the carrots. We're gonna get those into this bowl. And I know this seems like a lot of moving this from one to the other, but it really isn't. And it wait till you taste it. It's so delicious. Okay, so let's get those. The potatoes look like they are cooked perfectly. I am very happy. They're holding their shape really well. And these potatoes would be absolutely fantastic to make like for a breakfast potato. Oh my goodness, they would be so good because they already have all the flavor inside. I'm just gonna dump this liquid right into the bowl. That's gonna keep our carrots and potatoes warm. We will put our basket in, put that in. Right. Get it on the cabbage some. All that brown sugar out. Spread it around and we're gonna air fry for 20 minutes on 400. I will be checking it periodically because I want to, make sure that it's not burning or anything, but we're gonna go with 400 for 20 minutes. So let's get the air crisp function on. 400, 20 minutes, hit the start. There we go. So we just have under a minute to go. Now at the 20-minute mark, I checked it and I still wanted to go a little bit longer because that fat cap was pretty big and I wanted to render as much of that fat out as I could. So I put it for another 5 minutes, and I also rearranged some of the cabbage so the pieces that were on the bottom got up to the top and got a nice little char on them. So now we just have 30 seconds to go, and then we're gonna take the corned beef out and move the cabbage around a little bit more, add in the other vegetables, and we're going to air crisp on 400 for about 15 minutes while the corned beef rests. It's very important that you let the corned beef rest before you slice it. Wow. Oh, how pretty. All right, so let's see. I think I can go right in here now. You can see how much the corned beef shrinks down as you cook it. So, all right, perfect. Wow. Oh my God, it's glistening. It's gorgeous. This is not burnt, okay? This is just caramelized from the sauce that we put on top. And it adds so much flavor. All right, so I'm just gonna flip the cabbage around a little bit because we've got some pieces that got a nice char and then we've got some that haven't here. So give them a little opportunity during this next little cook. All right, great. Now I'm gonna pull this over closer to me, closer to the Ninja Foodi here, because this liquid is still really very hot. So, you know, be careful when you're touching it. And I'm just gonna take my tongs and put the potatoes. I'm gonna try to get the potatoes up towards the top because I really love the crispiness that the air fryer does with these potatoes. Okay, so I've gotten as much as I can in here, and I still have a little bit left over, which you could do in another batch, or you could just not air fry those, but I wanna get a little bit of a crisp on here. So we're gonna set the temp again to 400, so select the air crisp, go up to 400, and we're gonna do just 15 minutes. That's gonna give this corned beef time to rest before we slice it, and it's gonna get some of those potatoes and carrots just a little bit crispy. All right, guys, so we just have a little less than a minute to go, and it's time to slice our corned beef. So what you wanna do is you wanna slice all meats against the grain. And sometimes it can be a little difficult, a little challenging to find out where the grain is. And so here you can see that the meat is going this way, and I can pull it apart and you can just see that. And on the underside too, I can see some of it's going this way. So again, it can be a little challenging. But what I'm gonna do, because I can see this here, is I'm gonna cut it this way. So you wanna take a sharp knife and just cut off about, I don't know, 1/2 inch slice. Wow, yes, that looks great. All right, let's do another one here. Watch your fingers too. Perfect. All right, that is wonderful. Now, the last brisket that I did not have as much fat in the center, and if you don't want to serve that, you could just cut it right here and cut it right there. And you can put your pieces of your corned beef onto your platter. Now look at that. Okay, so these are some beautiful looking vegetables. They're really gonna jazz up your plate, and the little crispiness on the outside just adds a ton of flavor. Yummy, yummy. Just put a little bit on my plate here. All right. All right, so let's go for the carrot first. Oh man. I think that's the best carrot I've ever eaten in my life. It's a perfect texture. And I usually like mine pretty not crunchy, but pretty firm. Now this is a softer carrot, but the caramelization that it got from the air crisping at the end is just unbelievable. All right, let's cut this potato. The skin's crunchy. I hope you can hear that because the skin is crunchy, and that's awesome. Wow. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like a potato, like a twice baked potato or something, because the outside is like a little crunchy, but the inside tastes like mashed potatoes. I mean, it's that tender and soft. All right, so now we have a piece here where the sauce has caramelized on. Let me taste that. Oh man. Wow, that's good. Oh my. I have to steal that. Wow. Oh, that's just simply amazing. Now, I'm gonna take a piece here that has the actual center, the fat left on, because I wanted to see, it should be melt in your mouth. It shouldn't be chewy or, you know, it just adds flavor. It really shouldn't be chewy. So let's see. Oh my goodness. This is seriously the best corned beef and cabbage I've ever had in my life. And I've done it in a crock pot, I've boiled it, I've braised it in the oven. I've tried to make it all kinds of ways. This is absolutely the best. Oh my goodness. That had some of the sauce on it. Oh, I really hope you give this a try. It is perfection. Oh, I'm in love with this dish, really.